What's up, everybody? Nick Piles, publisher of 1851franchise.com, here with another episode of Meet the Zor. We're talking Central Bark coming up next. All right, actually, before we talk Central Bark, we're talking Bob. So, Bob, let's frame the story right. How did you accidentally fall into franchising? What's your franchise story?
Oh my gosh. Well, Nick, I worked in corporate America for 10 years at the Coca-Cola company in Atlanta. And part of my role there was working with franchisees and franchisors to help them, promote, sell, carry the right Coca-Cola products to help complete the consumer, to help to complete the meal to the consumer and help, franchisees, achieve their profitability goals. And you might imagine that franchisees make a lot of money in general on beverages. And so we were a big part of that. So that's how I initially got into the business from a corporate America point of view. And then after I finished my previous role, helping to scale a home services company and grow and modernize it, that's when I found this opportunity.
All right, so I want to unpack a few things from the Coca-Cola days, because as you were saying that, like it struck my brain, the profitability on the Coke product side is high, and there's a very, like, if you were to take every restaurant brand that exists, obviously they favor Coke probably more than Pepsi, and so all of them have that same product line. And so they have a little bit of a wiggle or a marketing edge on whatever different take they have on their burger or whatever. But Coca-Cola ends up being genius because it found its way into every brand, and it didn't matter if there was a competitor or not. Like, they were the product source. And it's interesting because that's very rare that it happens. Now, I'd imagine if we strip out Central Bark, we could probably find distributors that have done the same thing in the pet space. So just out of curiosity, like, obviously, that your item is going to be the same in everybody else. So you don't have to create a point of differentiation. You said to complete the meal. Was the sale fairly easy? Was the relationship fairly easy? And like, you understood the position that you had.
Oh my gosh, so much there. Wow. So actually, there's a whole series of processes. It's going to be a little bit of Coca-Cola advertisement right now, but just on the things that we knew at Coke about the product formulation of one of our brand Coca-Cola products, but also there's a whole brand assortment question, and there's certain brands that you would want to, in certain neighborhoods and areas and communities, that you'd want to feature versus others. So there was always like a product assortment, a portfolio approach. And then there was a whole bunch of meal occasion business as well. So whether it's drive-through or off-premise or on-site or carry-out. So how do you develop programs to connect with the consumer? And then there was menu board development, whether it's combo meal or meal combination kind of opportunities. And then there was suggestive selling that we kind of understood. And then there was a whole bunch of other like just occasion-based marketing, like how do you market beverages at breakfast, and how do you market beverages in the after hours? And so there's all kinds of interesting dynamics, and every concept was different. Every segment, whether it's hamburger or pizza or sandwich or was a little different. And it actually, to make the connection with Central Bark, it made me realize then, like, wow, there's opportunity everywhere. I mean, literally, we plant ourselves down into individual stores, and within the brand there was an opportunity, and then within the neighborhood there was an opportunity, and then within the actual execution of the delivery of the service there was always opportunities. So there was opportunities everywhere to just because every day we looked at people like, they're eating their meal without a beverage, like, why not, and what can we do? And the world belongs to the discontented. So there you go.
Well, and as it relates back to Central Bark, I'll get the connector aligned here. Like, the reality is on the same front, pet owners not letting their pet outside of the four walls of their home, 1, 2, play and socializing. Like, it's ultimately very similar in a marketing approach, which would I would assume helps answer the question, like, how does a guy from Coke go over to pets? It's more so, how does someone who figures out how to shortcut, you don't need a great idea, you just need a whole bunch of different things to be able to market to build awareness and connection with the customer, to get them in the door through whatever business you're selling. So I would imagine it's in essence the same project, just the widget goes from Coca-Cola to dogs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, like at Central Park, we have an incredible mission about providing whole dog care, and the suite of services that, you know, encompass whole dog care. Our vision is that every dog in America would have a Central Park experience, you know, and then we today in, you know, we have 40, let's call it 40 locations. Like, there is opportunity everywhere to, you know, add locations to our plan, and not just to put numbers on the board, but to really to provide a meaningful experience that we have, that we've, you know, curated for, you know, dogs and their pet parents. So, and then to your point, to make that connection, like, yeah, but then when you start looking backwards, like, like why don't people explore a Central Park experience, and why not, and what can we learn more about those folks, and how do you get stronger in your marketing and sales effort, and can you get stronger in your product delivery, and how can you get stronger on X, 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 Y, 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 Z, Z, Z. And so to complete the play here, the world belongs to the discontented, and there's always work to do. Yeah, right. So that's what makes it exciting.
Is one of, not challenge, but a little challenge, and you're going from Coca-Cola, has all the resources in the world. I hear your opening statement, even talking about menu board, time of day. And so let's just take time of day for argument's sake, that if you have all the resources in the world, the Facebook messages that you're delivering probably aren't coming 9 to 5. They're coming when the homeowner has gotten home for the day. It's coming in, and while they're traveling to another city to think about the pet that they're missing at home and making sure that they're being taken care of. Like, if you have all the resources in the world, you're going to cross-apply the same Coca-Cola marketing tactics. Is it a challenge because I'm sure your ideas are tremendous, but you're building up the resources as an emerging brand?
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing that kind of really drives us, is just getting like stronger at every single day. There's opportunity to learn, right? You get stronger at your understanding of your current brand, how it plays, and where it could play. And so as it relates to, let's just say, you know, new puppy ownership, right? We know that every year 4 to 6 million dogs are adopted, and there's a number of dogs adopted within a 5-mile radius of our location. Like, how do we go target those families, those households? And then it's one thing to go target them, and what kind of messages do we deliver that are relevant, right? And then how do we execute on those? Like, how do we develop programs, and then how do we create tools that our franchisees can easily implement to achieve, you know, a few new customers every week? So these are all of the really interesting, you know, dynamics. And that's just new puppies. What about a doodle that needs to be groomed every 6 to 7 weeks, right? And how do we find that occasion, those dog owners that have doodles that need to have their dog every 6 to 7 weeks, you know, groomed, and then what about the people that travel and go overnight? And what about someone who just is going back to the office now that the remote is no longer, now it's a hybrid. So now every Tuesday and Thursday, they got to go back in the office, and they don't want to leave Luna all alone. And how do you find those folks? So the marketing opportunity is never ending. And that's what makes it so exciting, because there's always something to learn and something to do.
If I think about the franchise buyer, I would imagine they obviously getting into the funnel isn't tough, because the category that the franchise is in is a viable franchise category. Like, clearly pets has had its moment when it comes to franchise business viability. When the candidate comes into the funnel, I would assume part of the magic is that they connect with you, because you also opened up saying I was an executive leader working for someone else. And now obviously you're still leading a company, but they are going through a moment, and you shifted from Coke over to here. They're going to go through a moment where they have to process shifting from working for someone else to being a business owner in many scenarios. Do you find that it's very easy for you to relate to them in the process because of your story?
Yeah, it's really amazing. I spend a lot of time with, excuse me, with prospective franchisees. And it is all of them are exploring what next, right? How do I take my skills? How do I take my interest in doing something, outside of my current role? How do I explore that? And I'm able to take my previous experience, like working with franchisees in the QSR segment. I'm able to take that and my experience in that, and just, I think, a natural empathy that I have. And it's really helpful for us and for me to actually work with prospective candidates that are thinking through their options. And it is very rewarding for me to be a part of that and to be able to come along with them, as they're making these decisions. And I'm able to see not only our current model, like what we do and working with our existing franchisees and what it could be, but I also have that background of knowing that, hey, that, when you're successful, that it gives you a whole bunch of other opportunities that you may not have imagined before. And I've seen it in my previous QSR segment, where, like, wow, like, here's people that start off with one location and now they have 5, or, it's just, or 17, and they got their family involved, or maybe they didn't get their family involved, or they, remote owner and they live in another location. So there's so many possibilities, and it's really remarkable. And I have experience at understanding those, and it helps during the process when a candidate's figuring out, like, what is it that they want to do.
Out of curiosity, have you seen any of these QSR franchisees make a transition or latch on the business ownership? They're in the QSR space. You're talking about margins 12% if you're lucky, to something that is greater than that. Different type of labor pool, different type of environmental situations. What you smell like at the end of the day is different. Have you seen that QSR candidate translate over to Central Park?
Yeah, a couple of our current franchisees have some QSR experience, and it's really neat. And just to hear them contrast and compare, what it's like to run a QSR versus, a pet services concept. And the big difference is food costs and ingredient costs, and that's and obviously our labor costs are a little higher as a percentage of sales because we're a service business, right? So it's about that. So the fundamental economics are really different, and it is but at the end of the day, it's still, some of the principles are the same. Like, how do you manage your business effectively, right? And how do you determine who to how do you make the right hiring decisions? How do you choose the right marketing spend? I mean, some of those decisions are really similar that are able to translate into our business.
I'm always curious what the vision of the CEO is. As a potential buyer, I'm going to buy from the jockey, and you end up being the jockey. So your vision for where this business goes, where's your head at on things?
Yeah, so we have 4 goals in our business. We want to make sure, the first one is to make sure that we understand, like, we want every single franchisee in our franchise system to be successful. How they define it. I mean, for some people, it's a geographic location. I want to operate a business in my hometown, or it's the opposite of, like, wow, I want to run a business absentee. I want to live in one state and run a business in the other. Many people have they want to be a multi-unit owner. Some people say, hey, I want to be involved in community activities with rescue and adoption and fostering. And there's so many, like, nuances of why people are in the franchise business. So number one goal is for us to listen really well and really hard on what is franchisee success, because we want to work within that to make it possible for them. So the second area is financial success, and we have a really good proven model operationally and financial model that delivers some financial success, and it's all in our item 19. The third is we want to have more locations, and just purely because our vision is that every dog in America would have a central bark location experience, and so we do want more locations. There's such a benefit for everybody when there's more locations. And then the fourth area is super important to us, which is we want to have the best franchise community in the world. And we just recently won a Franchise Business Review Top 200 designation, which is like based on franchisee satisfaction. That is huge. And there's a saying that we live by, which is if you want to go fast, you go alone. And if you want to go far, you go together. And that is central to who we are. So those are the four overall objectives for our business.
What's interesting is I had a conversation yesterday with the managing partner of Boxwood, and I said, "Tell me the magic. What is the equation for a franchisor at exit?" I said, "Unit level economics, validation, the FBR score, and then how quickly are your franchisees swallowing up more territory, or what is the value of your franchisee?" That's it. And those three statements align pretty nicely to what your vision is. Out of curiosity, I think, and I'm going to try to get it right. You said our vision is that every dog can have a central bark experience. Why don't you put that out there on your franchise positioning? Like, I feel like that's that is a clear vision that franchisees could follow. Is there a reason it doesn't go outbound?
Well, I think it does in some, in some places. Nick, I appreciate your feedback, and that's always good to hear this. And now you got me thinking about some follow-ups after we finish here. So thank you for that.
Well, it's always clear to me. Like if I ask, and it happens in almost every conversation, I say, "What's the vision?" And the vision is always crystal clear because the leader of the organization knows which way they're going. Now you have the two main audiences when it comes to franchises. You have your current franchisees and you have your prospective franchisees, which prospective franchisees can kind of relate over to customers too, who eventually could look at a business and say, "I want to be a part of this as well." But whenever I ask this question, it's always the same. There's like ding, 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 ding. And I go over to the development side. I'm like, where is that? Like, it's so clear. And, sometimes it's hard to get out of your own way when you're moving.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I do. We had our franchise convention recently, and I led with those 4 points, and every meeting that we have internally within our franchise system, I lead with those 4 points. And I think that's very, very helpful. So thank you.
Yesterday, I also had a podcast. We do one with Fran X, and we were talking about the main topic was if we had to sell one more franchise, how would we go about doing it? And so first we started talking about the foundational process, and we landed on who is the dream buyer. And most brands haven't articulated this dream buyer. They say, we just want to sell deals. And so what that does is that makes all deals created equally, where some are going to be scaling franchisees and some are going to be replacing income franchisees.
Yep.
When you think about who this dream buyer is for you, because I hear semi-absentee or ingrained operator, what is the persona of your dream franchisee?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a dream franchisee. So I think there's three, I'm going to say 4 critical elements. One is someone that has a passion for whole dog care, right? And for our values of passion, compassion, integrity, and respect. So someone that sees the vision, that sees our mission, that lives our values. So that's the most important thing. And the second part of this is someone that has management abilities. And it was interesting. I was speaking to someone recently, and that can be business, experience in the for-profit sector. It can also be government experience. It can be nonprofit experience. It can be volunteer experience. Someone that knows how to manage. Someone that knows how to set up objectives and and look at KPIs and allocate resources correctly. So that's really important, has management experience. The third is someone that wants to live within a system. And so we encourage some people that when we go through a discovery process with us, like some people want to be pure entrepreneurs, and sometimes the best thing to do is for them to develop their own location and develop their own company and their own brand. And we encourage people to do that. But that's really important, to find that fit of someone that wants to be a part of the franchise system, that wants to take our learning and direction and processes and make it their own. And then the fourth thing is leadership. It's different than management. I mean, leadership is all about leading and communicating your role in the community. It's finding, it's promoting yourself as I look at this, in terms of leadership, of being active in the community. Now, those four ingredients all have to happen. If you're a remote or absentee owner, you can, and you want to live in another location, as long as you have a sense of like, okay, the management and leadership has to be in place for that to work, then that's a conversation that we need to have with the prospective candidate. But those are the four really, really, really critical ingredients.
I'm going to say this statement. It's not that you and I can come to a conclusion on it, but it'd be very fascinating to see, take the world's most successful franchisees and see what percentage of them are still married. Because what you talked about, like management style, passion, living within a system, someone that may have not made it in that type of relationship, it would be interesting to see what that data would show, because it seems like those are also qualities of probably a healthy marriage too,
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Agree.
So let's close on this. Someone's been watching this. They've watched this point. They're still a ghost candidate. Maybe they've been to your website. Maybe they haven't. What else do you want them to know about the Central Park business opportunity that will help them make a decision whether to fill out the form or not?
Oh my gosh, terrific. Thank you. We are a unique business, and we like to say that we're different, better, and special. And how do we do that, right? There's a unique operating model that we have around whole dog care. There's some distinct elements within that about how we operate our model. We are a safety first, dog centric model. So we really start with the dog and the environment and the experience around the dog. So we have small play groups, 15 dogs or less. We have mandatory rest periods. We have outdoor and indoor play. We're non-breedist in our approach. And we have a weekly attendance requirement for daycare. So all five of those elements combined make a really, really powerful brand, and it makes a wonderful business to be a part of. So please learn more about us, and we'd love to be able to have that conversation with you.
Well, I'm gonna throw this on top of there. Obviously, when you got involved, the business was already operating. It may have not had the right scale mindset, but some of the philosophical business practices that we've talked about on this call, obviously I know that you've been the one that's put it in place. And it's interesting when you take a box and you professionalize it and operationalize it and prepare it for scale, what happens. And now obviously that's what's happening with Central Park. You're having a good growth story now. So that tends to be directed back at the leadership, and then the leader, when it's directed at them, deflects it and says it's everybody. But it's cool to understand your story and your backdrop, because you can see how it's playing out right now. So kudos to you, and keep up the good work with Central Park.
Thanks for having me, Nick. Thanks so much.
Okay. For Bob, I'm Nick. This is another episode of Meet the Zor.